And before we get started, we would like to acknowledge past, present, and emerging traditional and indigenous custodians, elders, and ancestral spirits of the territories where we all live and work. We know we're all in different parts of the world, but those who came before us made it possible for us to do the work we do, so we want to acknowledge them. So now we roll up our sleeves and we will look at what we are planning to do together today. So our session objectives are mostly to learn from each other and share innovations on how we can design smart and engaging and productive digital conservation standards sessions, and also how we can navigate and resolve the key challenges and how we can make use of good opportunities related to group dynamics in virtual settings. While our session today does not specifically focus on online tools, you will see the demonstration of some of these. And in the breakout groups, all of you will be mentioning tools and approaches that are working for you. And we will document these in our collective work and share after the meeting. So our agenda today, as you know, we have 3 hours total scheduled. We will do some work in plenary and some work in breakout groups. So we are now in the initial part, the welcome. Then we will move into a session in Miro, but we will stay together in plenary, where we will learn how to navigate the Miro board, which is what we will be using, and start with an exercise to identify the things we have liked so far that have worked well, and the things that have not worked so good for us in virtual workshops. And with that information, we will then identify the key problems, which we will take into the breakout groups that come after our break. So as you see, the next hour or so, we will focus on fleshing out a situation model around these problems or challenges that we identified, and brainstorming strategies or solutions that each of us can provide based on our experience or new ideas that we come up with. Then we have another break. And after this, we will have a brief report out from each team so we can learn from each other. And then we wrap up and do our session evaluation and closing. All right, so I will pass it on now to Vladimir, Milushev, and actually if our facilitators for today could briefly introduce yourselves so that people know who we are and what our roles will be today. Quinn, do you want to start?
Sure, I'm Quinn Shurtliff. I'll just be sending this to and from breakout groups.
Thank you, Quinn. Heather?
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Barna, and I'll be facilitating one of the breakouts. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
I'm Rob Sutter, and I'll be facilitating one of the breakouts also.
Thank you. Brenda?
Hello, everyone. Brenda van Sleeuwen. I'll be facilitating one of the breakout groups as well.
Thank you. Sarah?
She was having issues with audio. She may still be having issues.
Well, then you can go, Terri.
Hi, Terri Schulz. I'll be helping with the clustering and the good and bad ideas, and we'll be facilitating the voting and reporting on what we're going to talk about in breakout groups.
Thank you. And Vladimir, and you can go unless Brenda's audio is working again.
Probably not.
Okay.
Okay, hello from my side. Happy to be here with all of you. As you heard, my name is Vladimir from Bulgaria, and I will lead you first to the Miro whiteboard software that we use, and then also facilitate one of the groups. Okay, I think we're ready to continue then. We moved from Mexico to Bulgaria, and we'll move now from a bit from Zoom to Miro as well, to do our work there, to have some fun as well, I hope. For this, I share my screen first to show you where we work. And now you should be able to see my screen, my Miro screen in your Zoom. So if you look at it, this is the board that we prepared, the workspace. We call it a board that we prepared for you to work today during this session. And before I give you the link and let you enter in, I would just like to show you around. So you see, if I zoom out, we have a few shapes in which we work. We call them frames, and they are ordered in rows. So the first row is basically what we call orientation. You find some technical support information in the first frame here about Zoom and Miro, just very basic. Here, if we zoom a bit more, very basic instructions how to use Miro. If you need them along the session, then you can also find the agenda here in the next frame to the right. And if I move a bit more to the right, you can find links to different parts of the board, actually. If you click on these different blue texts here, you'll be able to follow a link. For example, a legend will lead you to the legend which is next to it, right? And this legend is just an example, not that we use it that much now, but just to show you that in some cases we use legends like this working virtually on a whiteboard. So these are main symbols and definitions that we use with conservation standards. And you, of course, all know them very well. Then we have a parking lot as well here in the first row. And you know how we use parking lots usually, just to park there ideas, issues, questions that we cannot address straight away. So for our session today, there is a parking lot in the top row. If you want to capture something and we don't have the time to address it, please just add your note there. And add your note, there are sticky notes, virtual sticky notes, of course, digital ones. How you do it, you just click on it, then click once again, and just add text. That's how you do it here. Of course, you can come back in it and then edit it, delete it, or edit it in a different way. So parking lots. And the last frame we have here, actually, because we miss very much being together with you in one room and having a coffee machine where in the breaks we can gather and chit chat around it, we have created this frame, which is our virtual coffee machine. And you see here, we cannot really meet in person, but at least we can share things virtually. So if you would like, feel free to share something. We already have videos. We already have the link to conservation standards here to the right. So feel free to use it as it suits you. Beautiful images from around the globe are very much welcome there at any point of the session. So I'm zooming out again just to see the overall board again. So I just showed you very quickly, of course, the first row, which I call orientation row. And then in the second row, we do the first exercise. In the third row here, we have the group work and we have a frame for each of the groups. We'll unhide these frames when we reach to this phase. But now I would like to invite you all in the board. So I shared the link with you in the chat in Zoom. So you need to click on the link there and enter the board. It should be easy, and we are waiting for you in the Miro board. I will keep sharing my screen as well, so you can look on my screen, but also you can work in Miro directly. Yeah, I see people coming. Wow, that was quick. We already have 30 people in the Miro board. You can see here on top of my screen, if you look on my screen, on top of your screen, the number of people in the board. Right now, there are 32. And if you look on my screen, it's really now populated with all the cursors and different names. And just not to distract you with this, I can hide all the cursors if you look on my screen. And I can do this by going to the top, to the leftmost button there, this little blue arrow, And if I click on it, you see all the cursors disappear on my screen. Another thing I would like to show you before showing you how it functions is the settings, just one of the settings here on top. It's really nice if you go and check what are the settings for your navigation. So here in navigation mode, if you click on this first settings, then navigation mode, and please, if you use mouse, click on mouse, the mouse should be highlighted in blue. If you use trackpad, click on trackpad. I'm with the mouse, so I keep it like this. And now I show you how to move around, because of course we need to move around to be able to work in the board. So first, zooming in and out. Using the mouse, I just use the wheel button of the mouse. When you roll it to the front, it zooms in like this. And it can zoom in a lot, really, you see. You can test it on your end as well. And zooming out, which I'm doing now, is just turning the button backwards. Another important thing, of course, is to move left and right, up and down. And this you do by, first, actually, I advise you to select here the select tool. So if it is only a hand like this, if you look for a moment on my screen in Zoom, so if it is only a hand, you can easily move just by clicking the button, holding it, and then dragging the whole workspace left or right. Then I'm dragging it right, for example, and I'm moving. Then I can zoom. Then I can drag it left again. But I advise you not to work with the hand, because hand is only allowing you to move, nothing else. But to click on the arrow and actually use the full functionality of the select button. That's something that we need. So click on the arrow. So the arrow is selected. And now if I click on an object, I can select it actually. And to move again, I do the same thing. Click on the left mouse button. And the same with the trackpad, click on the button there, hold the button, and then move it. You can test it on your side. But I think by now you should be able to move around Miro. Let's very, very quickly look at some of the main functions, really very few functions of Miro that we are going to use today. So the main menu of Miro is here to the left. This one that I already showed you, the first button on top. This first button, if you keep it on arrow on select tool all the time, that's fine. And I just show you a few more, probably just two more. An important one is a sticky note. You can add a sticky note to the board here. So actually you can try it, but just please use this empty space, not everywhere over the frames. So it's easier for us to work. So I'm clicking on a sticky note, then choosing a color and just clicking somewhere on the board where I want to enter it. And then if I zoom in enough for the sticky board, then I can enter text to it. Double click and just enter text. I see many of you adding stickies, that's good. The other thing you can do is you can add different shapes from the button below the sticky. For example, if I take a square, I just add a square, but of course it can be a different shape. I am choosing the size and the proportions of it. And when I have two shapes, one of the good things about Miro, using it for our conservation standards workshop, is that linkages with arrows work really smoothly in Miro. So I have this, if you look on my screen, I have this enter text orange post-it and the dark blue shape there. So I just get closer to the post-it, then you see these blue dots. And if I click on a dot, I can connect them, the two of them, with an arrow. And you see an arrow, and even a toolbar for an arrow appears on top, and I can format the arrow in various ways. We will not go in there now. But when I move the shapes, you see the arrows is keeping nicely connecting the both shapes. It's really easy to do it, and it's smoother when you move the shapes around. So you can imagine for conceptual models, for situation models, and theories of change, it's really convenient. Okay, what else? What else? Probably this is enough actually for now. We don't need much more to do the session today, but I would like to test your skills in Miro now using this frame here. I will unhide this frame.
Before you do
and,
that, Vladdy,
yes.
you may mention to people how to make the cursors go away in case it's driving them crazy with a lot of cursors.
Yeah, I already said it, but I can repeat
Okay.
it. So at the button, which is top and the leftmost, on the top menu, the leftmost button, this arrow, if you look on my screen, if you click on it, you can make the cursors appear like it is now on my screen, or you can make the cursors hidden. And I see that some of you already understood the purpose of our test here on Miro. And it's we already started it in the chat in Zoom to exchange weather information across globe. So just pick the suitable icon for you and place it at your location. Let's have a quick weather update and update from where all we're coming from. And you see the map is really nicely populating itself. Many people from US. Raining in Switzerland, some wind and sun in Spain, sunny in northern Brazil, wind in somewhere in Tanzania, and sun and wind in South Africa. Wow, and for the States, we really have a nice forecast here. You can really follow across the States and Canada. Ah, that's nice. Yeah. Mostly sunny, but with some rain close to Maine, although we heard that in Maine is dry, but probably not exactly Maine there. Yeah. And of course, it's raining somewhere close to Vancouver there or Washington State. Northwest states. Okay, so this is, yep, I give you half a minute more if you want to still move your icon there. But this is what we wanted to give you as an overview of how Miro functions. And again, Miro is a whiteboard software that we use on top of Zoom, which is the teleconferencing software to perform this session. I'm sure many of you have already worked in Miro, and if not in Miro, in Miro or some other whiteboard softwares. There are a lot actually. Okay, probably we can allow just one question, quick question on Miro if you have questions on the functionality of it. If you have troubles with doing some of the short exercises I show you, performing some of the functions. We have 1 or 2 minutes for this and then we continue. Any questions or everything works nicely and smoothly? Yeah, we see an image appearing here, a nice, beautiful autumn image. Can you please move this image to our coffee machine, virtual coffee machine to the right? Can you do this? Just grab it and drag it. And to upload an image, it is just copy and paste or drag and drop from your computer. That's how you do it. You need to have it on the computer. Then you simply copy and paste here to the Miro.
Thank you, Vladdy, for this great introduction. And as people are playing around here in Miro and getting acquainted, I am very sorry I forgot to mention that we will have participant introductions in the breakout groups. So we skipped that part because we will give you some time in the breakout rooms.
Thanks, Cristina, for this addition. Yeah, that's how we plan to do it. Okay, as it seems, we're having a bunch of Miro experts here now, and we can continue with the session. And we continue with actually what we are here for, to understand how can we go virtual and still being effective. And to do this, let's unhide this first frame. I bring you all to me. Miro has this function as well. I can bring everyone to me. So please come to this board, which says, to this frame on the board, which says good and bad in virtual workshops. And we'll have 10 minutes here. And the idea is you just think of virtual workshops you participated, doesn't matter as participant or as facilitator, and think of the good things that work really well in these virtual workshops, or can be virtual processes as well, and also the bad things, the things that we should do differently, the things that didn't work well, the things that we need to change next time or even stop doing. So good things you see, just put on the green post-it. We have provided you post-its there. Double click and enter the good things that you encountered in virtual meetings, and bad things, use the orange boxes for this, or dark yellow boxes, please. So we are up to 3 ideas per person, no need to add more. And yeah, no need to add the top ones. Yeah, just try to not repeat with the others if you read what the others have. And let's see what will be the result. We have naughty post-its here on the board, I notice. They're growing, moving. As I noticed that someone added a red post-it, you can change the color of it to green. If you click on it, yes, perfect. If you click on it, there is a toolbar appearing above it, and there you can change the color. Also, if we need additional post-its, you can add them from where I showed you before, the menu on the left, or simply copy and paste one of the others. A lot of people, a lot of things appearing here. And now, as we have quite a lot of ideas on the board already, we'll slowly start clustering them here on our side. And if you want, if you're ready with your ideas, you can help us cluster a bit. We do the clustering below, and it will take some time, of course, because we have a number of ideas. And we only do the clustering for the bad. Let's leave the good like this. It's a good list of good things there, but for the bad, we start clustering. Just do not be surprised if some post-its are moved down. Of course, you still have the time. If you have additional ideas, just add them to the board. We still have empty post-its there. I like one of the good notes a lot. It says there is time to think. A lot of goods for the virtual meetings.
I'm giving them kind of a cluster label in orange. So if you see those an orange box that says technology, if you see other things that are dealing with technology and such, you can put them around that one.
Really nice to work with that many coaches in a room, in our virtual room. It's almost miraculously the notes are moving and clustering themselves there. And it's not easy because there are a lot of notes, actually. I don't know, it's more than 15 notes being clustered. And it's really looking nice.
A modern day miracle.
I'm going to cluster some of our clusters a little bit here and put time management over into insufficient preparation.
Yes, please do, Terri.
Yeah. I'm going to put those kind of two together. They kind of go together in my mind. So let's move the time ones up there too.
And you said you don't want us to do any clustering of the good ones, right? Just leave them as is?
Correct.
No, yeah, we don't need it for now.
All right. I think we've got a good group here. So what I'm seeing is, and I'm going to read them out and make sure we've got what we want, and we're going to move on to a separate board and we're going to vote on them in a minute. So there's something about, allocating correct time, lack of preparation. So how you organize a session maybe might be one way to say that. There's distraction. It's easy to be distracted by dogs in the background or other things. The lack of personal contact, it can be a big issue for people. Fatigue, especially if people are tired of being on technology. There's definitely technology and connectivity issues, lack of interactivity, less input from quiet. I think that means quiet participants. So not everybody
Yes.
participates as equally is what I'm hearing there. And distraction, let's see, facilitation is another one I see. And then outcomes. Some people think it's not as efficient. So don't we have a break scheduled now? And we'll just
No,
move things-
it's not now,
not
Terri.
now. Okay. So
No, we just move them to the next frame.
so we're gonna copy them, but not everybody copy.
Yeah, they're
everything.
already there, Terri.
Oh, they're
They're
already
in the
there?
next frame.
Okay,
I told you miracles are
Vladdy,
happening here.
okay. Are you pulling everybody over, Vladdy?
Yeah, just a moment. But yeah, next frame is just next frame to the right, but I pull you over. So here it is, the voting frame. So we managed to cluster them. Thanks for the help, everyone who participated in this. And yeah, probably Terri, we can just review them quickly, what we have before starting the voting.
Yes, and remind people how many votes they have before I tell them what are on here.
Yeah.
So how many
Yeah.
opportunities do they have to vote? Twice. These were actually the same thing, right together. How many votes do we have? 3? Is that right?
3 votes per person you have. You're free to choose how many of them you allocate per,
So don't start
per
voting yet.
topic or per issue.
But let me tell you, we have insufficient time preparation. Thank you for combining that one. Lack of personal contact, distraction, facilitation, virtual fatigue, technology and connectivity, lack of interactivity, and less input from quiet participants. Now, let me tell you what you're voting on. You're voting on things that you might, what we will talk about in breakout groups. So think about, there may be some things that you can't change around virtual meetings, and that might not be the best and easiest thing to for a breakout group to discuss. So consider that as well. So which of these topics, and we'll choose the top 6, which of the 3 do you think we should talk about in terms of ways that we could make virtual meetings better and virtual facilitation better? Let us know, Vladdy, when you have it ready for people to vote. And tell them how it works.
Yes, yeah, I'm just trying to set a few technical issues, but so you know what we are doing. Please speak out if there is something unclear of what we're doing now. But in a second, we start voting on the main issues that we clustered here. Okay, I open a voting session. You have 3 votes, as I told you. You have 2 minutes, and please vote for the issues connected with virtual workshops or facilitation or coaching that are the most important, you think. You need to click first on the blue button, join voting, and then just select the ones that you want to vote on.
So another minute and a half you have to provide your votes.
Vladdy,
Oh,
there's
so-
a question in the chat from Becky. She's wondering where the join voting link should be.
Sorry, which link? Join voting is just, it should appear in the middle of your screen like a blue button.
And you have 3 votes, and it will stop you when you get to 3. It won't let you vote more than that many times.
Just in case if somebody is having trouble then with this voting, I provide you some dots. Just a moment.
And we have another question that's, how did you organize the voting? So
In what sense?
I think somebody wants to know the process. If they were using Miro, how would they do voting?
So yeah, first for the ones that cannot use the voting or do not see the button for any reason, here are some dots, use 3 of them and move them next to the post-its that you see there. And then how you organize the voting? There is just this function in Miro. So when you're in Miro, when you're facilitating, there is such a function. If you look on my screen now, the voting session just ended and now the results are being summed up. But if you look on my screen, just a moment, because now we have the voting results. Here at the bottom, you see another menu. Not the menu on the left, but bottom left again. And there are a few buttons. One of them, the button with the 2 dots, is actually the voting. And we're not getting into the details of it now. But from there, you organize a voting session. You choose which objects are included, and you organize the voting session. And now you should be able to see the votes on your screen as well.
I don't see them on my screen, Vladdy. I see them on your screen.
Okay, then look on my screen, whoever doesn't see it on your screen. So here they are to the right side of my screen.
Oh,
So
there it is. Yeah.
the most voted one is lack of interactivity, which is 25 votes. Then the second one is facilitation. And I assume we mean here facilitation, which is not well suited for virtual environment. The third one is less input from quiet participants. The fourth one is insufficient time for preparation. Virtual fatigue is fifth. Then with 11 votes come lack of personal contact. Technology and connectivity is next. And distraction is the last one. I'm surprised that distraction is the last one. People obviously found a way already to work with distraction, and it is the last one. So these are our votes. This is how we voted. Okay.
So let's give people just a minute to look this over and see. And if you weren't able to vote, feel free to add your votes in. But I think we have some pretty strong at the top, definitely vote getters, and those will be the topics. The first 6 topics will be the ones that we'll discuss in breakout group. Any questions before we move into breakouts?
Yeah, we have few minutes. If you have any questions, now it's your time. We have probably even more than 5 minutes for questions and answers. So please use the time. And then we do first a break and then we go to breakouts. But time for questions. You can, because we are quite a few participants, raise your hand probably in Zoom and we'll let you speak.
Oh, somebody else said they can't vote. So feel free to put dots next to the ones that you would have voted for, and we will add those in. It may make a difference on the lower ranking vote getters. Thank you,
Yes,
Cristina,
exactly.
pasted the votes down below. So that's really helpful for if you're just looking at your own board. Wonderful. Well, should we
Any
just,
questions, any comments on what we've did so far?
yeah, can you, folks said it would be great to see how you set up a vote.
Okay, yeah, I see 2 technical questions. One is how we set the voting session, and the other one is how I managed to drag everyone on the same frame. So let's answer first the second one because it's shorter and easier. So when you are a facilitator in Miro, if you look on my screen now, when you are board owner, you can drag everybody to you. You need to go to the top, center top there. You see there are quite a few labels, these circle labels with our initials. So I'm going to my one, which is on the left, leftmost one. And when I click on it, you see now on my screen, you can have bring everyone to me. And then when I click bring everyone to me, yes, I brought you all now. You notice in Miro that you all here. Yeah, and it says here under my name that 36 people are following me, but when the people click somewhere else, they are not following me anymore. So if you click, you will not be following. But if you don't click, I can bring you with me to another part of the board. I can bring you here to see this beautiful dock as well, for example.
And that's the same in Mural. For those that use different kinds of software, there is a function where the lead facilitator can call everyone to them.
Yep. And now the second one on how we organize voting in Miro, it's quite easy. You just need shapes that you're voting on. I will just add a few post-its here, green ones, so they different organize quickly another session, and you see on my screen. But you won't be able probably to see it on my screen actually. Yes, you won't be able because I don't know. Let's try it. I'm not sure if you can see it or not. But for example,
Yes.
if we have a few post-its like this, the green ones, and now I want to vote on these 3 green ones, then I go to the menu, which is bottom left, as I told you. Quite a few things in actually Miro has really a lot of functionality. We are not going at all in, even in 1% of it. But you see another menu, and the voting is here. This icon, which is in blue with the 2 dots, square with 2 dots. So when I click on it, do you see it now on? No, not really. When I click on it, do you see it on the right of my screen now? The voting window?
Yes. We actually have
Okay.
the option to do that as well, so people could click on the
all
vote.
the editors obviously have the action. So you just click on new session, you choose how many votes you allow people here, maybe only 1 vote, how many minutes you allow per voting, and then you need to select objects probably because you don't want to vote on all the items you have on the board. I click on select button here to the right, select, and then I mark the objects. In Miro, it's done with the shift button, and then I just lasso around them, and you see 3 objects selected, and I can start the session. That's how you organize a session. It's really easy.
Well, why don't we head to our break? Can somebody who's probably been taking more track of time than I have, tell me how much time does it make sense to have for the breakout?
We have 10 minutes for the break. So it's depending on where you are in the world, but I think the minutes are the same for all of us. So it's 47 past the hour. So let's count 10 minutes to be back. So enjoy your break and take a breath, go get some fresh air, get your drinks, whatever you need to do. Okay, see you in 10 minutes.
Vladdy, can you paste the link back in to Miro? Just, I think somebody
Yes,
had to come back in and doesn't have it.
Yeah, that's something with Zoom. If you have not been when the Miro is pasted, all the chat disappears. Oops, sorry, I pasted in a direct message.
Thank you.
Here, if you will, our target is to have effective virtual coaching with empowered participants. That's I'm sharing my screen so you can follow. where I am on the Miro, but that's what we're looking for. And as any self-respecting conservation coach, we want to explore this with the situation model. So we've identified that poor participation in engagement is our threat. That's what's degrading this effective virtual coaching. And so each of us, each group, there's 6 groups. I'm going to zoom out here that you'll be just randomly broken into. And there will be a facilitator in each group. Each group has been assigned one of the indirect threats, if you will. For example, group 1 will be lack of interactivity. So those, when we put you into breakout groups, those in group 1 will be exploring what's driving the lack of interactivity. And so we have I'm just in the group 1 box here. We have the orange boxes to use as contributing factors to describe that. You can look at the reminder, even though Vladdy went over this a bit, but some technical tips on how to connect the arrows as you do this. And our goal is to make just what we all know is a contributing or a situation model that we'll be able to share at the end. Once we have a model built, and we've got about 25 minutes for that, we can use these stars to identify intervention points, and then we'll brainstorm and discuss different strategies using the hexagons that we can place on the model. Now, because this is going to be shared back, we're developing a product to use and share with others. And so if there's time, and we encourage you to fill out some of these squares would provide additional information so that somebody reading the strategy will be able to understand maybe what it's meaning. So those are there. When we first go into breakout groups, you'll have about 5 minutes to introduce yourself, or I should say you'll each have about 30 seconds to introduce yourself within the group, and your facilitator will guide that. And I think that's it. Anything I left out?
That should be it, Quinn. We can give them, all the participants, orientation where the group workspaces and how to find them. If you zoom out probably on your screen, just for all of us to see where the group workspaces.
Okay. So they're all go from left to right there. Okay.
Yeah, they're just below the frame that we worked in before, and moving to the right, further to the right. You also have links that will lead you straight to your group workspace. In the voting frame there, you see these green titles, group 1 to group 6. If you click on group 1, for example, if you're in group 1 and follow the link, it will lead you to the workspace of group 1. Yeah, like as Quinn just did.
And maybe just to add, Terry and I will be in the plenary room. So if any of you get bumped out by the internet connection or something, don't worry, just connect back in and let us know in what group you were, and we can put you back in.
Okay, well, with that, let me stop sharing. And I'll open up the breakout groups, and yeah, let us know if anything funny happens. You should be able to go in and get to work. Let's see, it looks like there's a couple not assigned. Let me.
I beat you to one of those,
Okay, good.
Quinn.
we can do that. There you go. All right, well, I'll go into group 1 and see you on the other side.
Right.
we not only having this image, but also few others, beautiful sceneries, Halloween images, and strange looking dogs from around the globe. This one is a cute one. That's how the dog at home looks when you start working in the Miro screen, building conceptual model, probably.
That's Otis. That's my Otis. And
Okay.
he has an eye condition where half of each eye has no color.
Ah, okay. But he looks really cute.
He's really silly. He's just silly.
Okay. Thanks for sharing these images here. And again, this is an example how sometimes with teams, we try to take a bit of virtual chit chat time in the frame, which is designed for this. But now we go in to our situation models. So what we've done so far, of course, is we brainstormed the main challenges that we may have in virtual meetings here. We clustered them, then we voted on them to see which we think are the most important to address, the most challenging. You can find the vote in here, for example, in this frame. And then we went into breakout rooms to think about the 6 main ones. What is actually causing them? And the amusing part and the useful part, how we can solve them, how we can tackle these challenges that prevent us from having effective virtual meetings. And I'm really curious, and I think all of us are really curious to hear what happened in the different groups. And now it's time to present back. I think we go group by group, and we have a limited time because that's the time we have in this meeting. So if you please, if you can stick to something like 3 minutes to present the outcomes of your group work, it would be perfect. So can we start with group 1? Who is going to present?
I am. Hi, Vladdy. It's Jacqueline.
Hi, Jacqueline. Yes. So the floor is all yours.
Okay.
You can look at my screen here. You can also look in the Miro board on group 1.
I'll zoom into mine. We had a fantastic group, and they did a great job of contributing to the diagram. You can see there's a lot of brainstorming on here. So our topic was lack of interactivity, and we wanted to focus on these virtual meetings. So some of the main things we pointed out, you can see that we started to collect things into group boxes as we developed a lot of the contributing factors. So we had participant barriers, and that included some things that many of us hadn't thought of before, such as cultural barriers when opening the meeting and making sure that people feel comfortable, virtual anxiety, difficulty with reading body language, and some of the other contributing factors that we brought up earlier in the session, quiet participants staying in the background, and just general difficulty kind of visually connecting with people, especially when screen sharing and you can only see a few of the participants. One of the ones that we highlighted was also this lack of familiarity and trust with the participants, especially if they've never met before. So we work with all types of groups, and some are very internal and some are large and connecting people from different groups. There were also kind of a cluster of technology barriers. So not only people just not being comfortable with technology, which seemed to be one that many of us have faced, but also the interactive tools can be an opportunity, but they can also be distracting or inhibit conversation. So making sure as facilitators, we're guiding people through when to be in the tool and when to be participating in more of the verbal discussion. As well as all of us have faced this, I'm sure, before, but having issues with technical connection, audio, video, apps, bandwidth, connectivity, everything like that. People needing to call in by phones and then it not really mattering what's on your screen in the first place. Again, we tried to identify some opportunities among both of these, so that there's really great virtual collaboration tools and new techniques that are constantly coming out. as well as with participants, that some people feel the opposite. They might feel less stressed to speak in a virtual setting or contribute to the chat, or feel that they have different ways of contributing. For the meeting design barriers, and I think this time required to prepare the tools ties into both the technology and the meeting design. We talked about how sessions in general aren't designed for participation and all of the factors. I didn't get very far, so apologies to everyone. But you can see our big 3 groups.
That's fine. I think you can continue, Jacqueline. We need to know a bit of the strategies that you thought of there, how we deal with all these challenges, a highlight probably for each of the 3 group boxes.
Yeah, we identified quite a few. One that we talked about at the end was doing different techniques such as partner breakouts and getting people to open up early on in the conversation. Sometimes I think we can even do that with introductions, right? Just getting someone to speak out once can help encourage them later. Including time in the agenda for small breakout groups or personal interactions. So really building in an interactive element early on and giving time for it. And then we talked about some things that we should do, right? Like create a clearinghouse for interactive ideas and templates. But as facilitators, most of our strategies were focused on encouraging discussion early on with some smaller group techniques. Anything else, Vladdy, or someone from my group?
I don't know if somebody wants to add. Okay, thanks for this. A good presentation. You almost covered everything with this lecture interactivity, and now we have the chance to go into the details of some of these with the other groups, I think. So let's see what's coming up there with group number 2. Who is presenting on behalf of group 2?
Hey everyone, I'm Laramie, based out of Canada, and I had a really great group. We were talking about some of the challenges associated with virtual facilitation, and I think group 1 strategies might end up sort of filtering into ours as well, because some of the major challenges associated with facilitation that we found is keeping our participants engaged. And also addressing things like there's a lot of virtual burnout these days. And we can associate that possibly with a lack of effective facilitation, possibly because there's inadequate preparation, or there's other tools that could be used to keep things interactive and engaging, as group 1 had suggested. And that could be due to the fact that there might be a lack of virtual skills, training, or experience. And so this workshop right now that we're all attending is possibly the first step to addressing our facilitation issues. So we got that early on. And that could also be due to a lack of virtual facilitator supports, training, tools in a place that I think we find as facilitators, there's so much information out there now on how to do virtual meetings, how to keep things engaging, effective, that I have personally experienced some paralysis in researching all of these things and deciding, what would work best for me in doing conservation standards. So that leads us into our first intersection point and strategy of forming a conservation standards virtual facilitation community of practice with centralized resources. So a one-stop shop where all facilitators can go and find everything that they could possibly need. In addition to that, maybe gaining some more experience by attending some sessions as an observer, or doing some mock coaching sessions if you have the time, and leading from the conservation standards community of practice. It could also house some selection of tools and tricks to keep people engaged and lighten things up and personalize things a bit more, because we are missing the body language and the ability to track the mood, etc., of our attendees. And then last but not least is how do we address this participant burnout, and how can we keep everybody happy? Well, it's not possible to keep everybody happy when doing a virtual facilitation, but we'd like to try. And so gauging partners' situation and their preferences specific to virtual workshopping would be great to do by doing surveys, just to get a sense of, you know, what do our partners prefer? What do they want to see in a virtual setting? And, you know, what are the gaps, and where can we really focus our virtual collaborative efforts so that there's not this sense of wasting time. And sorry, one last point is that now that everybody has gone virtual, there's this perceived sense of, oh, people are a lot more available now. They don't have to travel. But it indicates that, you know, there might be more demands of virtual screen time of people. So really trying to cater to their needs would be great. Are there anything else, any other points that I missed, team?
You covered it, Laramie. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Laramie. It was a really good presentation of your work, and this one really focused on how we can improve our facilitation and as coaches. And thanks for all the insights there. And everybody who is curious can look in the details in this group. They even managed to all of the strategies they offered to add additional details here, so you can see what they mean by coach mock sessions and how it should be implemented and all the rest. Thanks. Yeah, we definitely need a good training and enough experience and as coaches. Yeah. Okay, moving further, group 3. Who is the
That's
ambassador there of group 3? Yeah,
That's me. This
Lindsay.
is Lindsay. Yeah, thanks. So our factor that we were focusing on was less input from quiet participants. So I think that there we'll see a lot of, or some at least, overlap with what Jacqueline presented on, with just the lack of interactivity. So at the top of our model, we have a lot of contributing factors related to technology. So the lack of understanding of how to use technology, the poor management of technology, and then some strategies, hopefully to help participants understand how to use technology better, or also making sure that your technology fits your participants. So having a clear orientation to how to use the technology is one way to improve that. I think that Vladdy did a great job of that, showing us all a good orientation to Miro at the beginning. And I think even using things like Zoom, I know we've all been on Zoom a lot over the last 2 years, but giving a quick orientation on how to find the chat, or just how to find these simple features that you're having participants use. The next kind of chunk of our model was focused on participants maybe having a lot of different preferences on how to engage. So maybe speaking verbally isn't their number one preferred way to provide input. And so having a strategy to provide a lot of different options for them to contribute. So either in the chat or having a whiteboard like this, different ways for them to engage other than having to break into a conversation. Next, we have some kind of a theme of poor planning of the meeting, participants not totally understanding the process for how to speak up or how to add feedback. And so making sure that enough time is allocated to actually plan the meeting, sending out clear objectives and an agenda in advance so that participants who maybe need that extra time to process can process ahead of the meeting. And then by the meeting, maybe we'll be more ready to share out. And then our last group of factors and strategies was focused on making sure there's enough time during the meeting to either process the material that's being discussed, or also be engaging in the virtual activities. So we've got some strategies that are making sure that we allocate enough time for those virtual activities in the workshop so that participants have enough time to figure them out and participate. And then also we had a strategy to think of a way for participants to provide their input at a later time so that if they need to kind of digest what was going on in the meeting, they can send their feedback later and still have it collected into the group's participation. I think that's most of our main points. Anything I missed, Vladdy?
I don't think you missed anything. And it was perfect timing. You have 6 more seconds to go until the 3 minutes. So amazing on the timing side, perfect. But also amazing on yeah, what the group here did. So yeah, again, just a very highlight overview for quiet participants. Make them comfortable with technology, provide them a variety of options to participate, and again, design the meeting in a way that it's again comfortable for them, and allocate enough time for the virtual exercises. In a sentence, this should be the summary of group 3. Okay, let's hear now the summary of group 4. What you dealt with, what was your challenge there? Insufficient time for preparation. Okay, let us understand what is causing insufficient time for preparation, why we are not traveling, and we should have more, and how you deal with it. Who is presenting?
I'm presenting, Vladdy. I actually tried to get Josh to present when he stepped out to answer the door, but our able facilitator pushed it back onto me, so I failed. So I think this was a hybrid between insufficient time for sessions and insufficient preparation on the part of the facilitators. And we talked about both of these things. Sort of up on top, we dealt with the time issue for time for preparation even, and we suggested maybe an 8-day week would be helpful. That may not be as ambitious as we need. We might want to go for 2 extra days per week. But there were some other suggestions, such as prioritizing which content you actually want to share, having shorter, more frequent sessions rather than having the longer sessions might actually work out, even though the total time is the same. It might actually be better and more efficient if you have shorter sessions because people are paying more attention and you can be more efficient. And let's see, in terms of other issues, so there's both the unrealistic expectation of how long things actually take in the sessions themselves and an unrealistic expectation of how long it takes to prepare for those sessions. And so we talked about both of those things. In terms of the unrealistic expectation of the sessions themselves, we made it clear that we should probably budget the cost of preparation. So for consultants, this is particularly important that they actually they budget for the time it's going to take so that they do have the time to be well prepared and don't feel that extra pressure. And that will also help with managing expectations of what it takes to plan a virtual session. Let's see. In terms of underestimating how long it takes to prepare, we think that perhaps more guidance, templates, webinars on virtual preparation, just like today's session, would be a helpful thing. And of course, we'll have more experience as time goes on, all of us, in terms of how long it actually will take to prepare these sessions. And so adaptive learning should help with that. Down below center, we talk about having a clinic for less experienced participants, so that, and that actually might save time, even though it's a little bit of extra effort, because one thing we're dealing with is a diversity of participants in terms of their abilities to engage with using these virtual tools. And so in order to make things go more smoothly during the session and not have to plan around that diversity, or well, you still have to plan around it, but in your main session, it might go more smoothly if you've had a little bit of a clinic with the less experienced participants, or offer them opportunities to play around in Miro or Mural, etc. That might actually be useful. And then, of course, left center, having more than one facilitator. There's lots of good reasons and needs to have more than one facilitator. And in terms of this particular topic of needing more preparation, having more than one facilitator will help us encourage each other to take the time to prepare. Over.
Okay, thanks. Also a good timing here from your side, John. Thanks for sharing all this with us. And yeah, you were discussing not enough time, but you touched on many different topics actually, which are interconnected, and some of the topics that were discussed before. And yeah, the new ideas added here probably are the clinic and the second facilitator. Guidance we already heard of, and yeah, prioritizing what to share. Definitely we need to do a very important thing. And then the 8-day week would be very convenient as well, but I don't know how realistic it is at this point. Even in virtual world, I don't experience it existing at all. But okay, let's move to the next group, group 5. And here they are brilliant ideas. Do they have a 9-day week or something like this?
All right.
To overcome the virtual fatigue there?
Hi, everybody. And don't worry, I had a minor thing done on my face last week, so that's what this massive bandage is about. Okay, so our group was addressing virtual fatigue, and I think many elements of that were obviously relevant in the other issues that were tackled, but what overall, what was missing, or the opportunity we saw, is to just bring more intentionality to virtual meetings. And it kind of breaks down into 3 areas. One is in the world of preparation, and so clearly echoing things that have been said about the time and facilitators' role and all of that. But one, we agreed that it would be great to have shared resources of models, templates, examples of agendas for various types of meetings. And with that, really doing the advanced preparation to make objectives of meetings available to people so they really know what to expect, what's expected of them, help them evaluate better whether they really even need to participate. I think one of the big ones, you'll see a red star at the bottom, is just there's so many Zoom meetings, and we spend a lot of our time online for a lot of other reasons these days, to connect with our own families, for entertainment, like that. So being able to have that kind of information to better prioritize our participation. And that leads me to our second highlight, which I think is really providing alternatives to virtual meetings. So some meetings could be done just speaking over the phone like we used to. Also could be having people do more of the work individually ahead of meetings, and then so that you don't have to have meetings that are as long. So looking for alternatives to video conferencing to alleviate the fatigue. And then the last kind of category, the upper part of this, is really about how to conduct meetings. What are we doing in the meetings? And so being deliberate about building in breaks during long meetings, but also maybe having a protocol in an organization about ending meetings 10 minutes before the hour as a general rule of thumb, so that people have a break in between back-to-back meetings. Also, camera use, and being more intentional about when you're asking people to be on camera and when it's okay for them to be off camera, and recognizing that just having that information can help people feel more comfortable. Sorry. I think that was it.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, virtual fatigue. And again, perfect timing. Wow, we are really a good group of coaches here, keeping the time so nicely when it's only 3 minutes. I'm amazed. And yep, a really nice presentation, virtual fatigue. And I like the ideas, especially I like the ideas of finishing meetings 10 minutes earlier, which can really be helpful because many of us know how you end one meeting and you jump to the next one. You even 2 minutes late for there and you have to switch, no time for transition, yeah, no bio time at all. And that might be a good idea. And also might be good of thinking of providing alternative to virtual meetings, which was mentioned. Because yeah, we started with virtual meetings. Now we have all the technology to do good virtual meetings, and we all into it. And it might be actually wise what this team said. Think of alternatives sometimes. Yep, thanks for this. Next group, our last group, it's group 6 and lack of personal contact. How we overcome what is causing lack of personal contact and how we overcome it.
Hi, so this is John, I'm the reporter. We actually reframed this from just lack of personal contact to lack of personal connection and trust. I think it's less about just having some contact and more about really being able to connect with each other as people and learn to trust. So kind of at a high level, we saw kind of 4 clusters of the problems. The first was just we have less automatic time to connect with each other. So in person, we talk during meals, during breaks, and we don't kind of get that for free in a virtual environment. It's also less natural. We don't have kind of as many, it's more work. We tend to get low group energy, and those both contribute to reinforcing distraction, which we already have because we're all at our computers with our computers open. Another group was around being hard to tell how people are feeling. So lack of eye contact. We might not be as aware of problematic group dynamics that are going on. And that those 2 things, both the kind of how people are feeling and sort of the being a natural and the energy, are especially hard for facilitators who are overloaded. So we mentioned, you're tracking what people are saying, you're watching and maybe changing a diagram, you've got chat, you've maybe got a separate secret chat just for facilitators. And so altogether, the facilitators have a harder time managing and moderating some of these issues. And then the last one was that we maybe don't have clear ground rules or roles of engagement. And so that makes it harder to build trust. So moving to strategies, so the 3 kind of categories we saw, one was around icebreakers. And this can mean both like literally an icebreaker activity, or it could mean just getting to know each other one-on-one or in small groups, both before the meeting and during the meeting. For icebreaker activities, we mentioned, say one good thing that happened to you or you're looking forward to, just something you saw on your way to work. They could be lightning binary questions like, do you drink coffee or tea, pancakes or waffles? But for all these, we thought it's important to emphasize the right to pass. People may be having social anxiety or depression or other reasons that they don't want to participate in the icebreaker, and that should be okay. For sort of the rules or roles of engagement, having really clear ground rules, talking about the use of video. So again, like, why do we want it on? When do we want it on? When is it okay to have it off? Understanding how people will provide feedback, both during the session and afterwards, and having room for anonymous feedback. And then for facilitation, we thought having a co-facilitator is really helpful. They can kind of watch faces while one person's moderating comments and reading the diagram. And also think about when to use tools like round robin and calling everybody in sequence to make sure people aren't unable to break in. So what did I miss from my group? See 1 thumbs up.
Yep. That might say enough that you covered everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap with other groups said.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was some overlap with other groups, but it was a clear focus on trust here and building personal contact. And you mentioned a few techniques that you offer here. Just get to know each other better, use icebreakers or other similar activities. Also ground rules to make it really trustable environment. And a second facilitator, this is an overlap, but it can help also in this regard in building trust and building the personal contact better. So thanks for this. So a lot of ideas. It was a bit unfortunate that we had to share this that quickly because there were really a lot of nice ideas here. And I think it is also nice to see the situation models built like this. What are the factors actually that lead to that? So thanks all for participating in this group work. It was nice to hear all the presentations. I'm sure that we all learn something from it, many things actually, and we all have new insights and new thoughts, new ideas of how we do better our next virtual meeting. So thanks once again. And because it's a lot and we couldn't really review it in detail, whoever is curious to do it, we will leave the Miro board link open, so you can, we send it probably in a follow-up email. So you'll be able to have access to this board, and you will also export a PDF from the Miro board, so we will be able to have all these ideas again at your disposal, sent via email at a later stage after the session. And the other thing, apart from exchanging experience here with this group work, for us was important to really test and probably demonstrate to you how we organize such a group work exercise in quite a big group. We are now more than 40 people in the session. And you can say that looking just from the coaching perspective, this is one way to organize situation model development session using a whiteboard software, in this case, Miro. And we also wanted to demonstrate this. Okay, I think, Cristina, this was it from the report backs. We heard a lot of nice ideas, and we are ready to move slowly to wrapping up the session and closing.
Thank you, Vladi. So maybe we can stop sharing the screen so we can look at each other's faces, whoever wants to have their camera on. So as we heard, together we explored some of the challenges we are collectively facing when we conduct virtual coaching sessions. And together with you all, we also discovered many practical solutions. So we are going to export, in addition to leaving the Miro board open for all of us to continue exploring, we will export that into a PDF and we'll share it with all of you who are participants. And next week, we will have another session like this one for colleagues in different time zones. So once we've had both sessions, we can share. Also, we will do cross-fertilization so that you can also see what the other group came up with. And from here, I mean, we really covered the whole life cycle of sessions, you know, session preparation, how to engage people. And then there's obviously the, you know, how to make people feel comfortable so that everyone can really be there, be ourselves, and bring out our very best in these meetings. And then the closing part of, you know, how do we follow up and bring closure to this? So that was very nice to see that we covered really the whole life cycle of a session. And I especially liked the mention of a working group, because we have been trying to get momentum to establish a working group to support each other. So we will pick up on that. And I was thinking, you know, in the email that we send out to all participants, we will ask who wants to be part of that, because that's how CCNet works. We are self-organized, we are very organic. So the traction we get for that work group will depend on all of us. So we are hoping that some of you will sign up, and yeah, CCNet is happy to offer the platform so that we can share resources and get together, but the workload is up to all of us. So I think we're ready for it. So let's make it work. And I'm looking forward to that working group in CCNet. And I guess, you know, for closing remarks, we will share a link. I'm going to share it right now in the chat box. We ask all of you so that we can walk the talk to do a session evaluation. So Sarah, who is joining us in this call, and several other colleagues from the rally planning team set up session evaluation forms for each of our sessions. And we ask for your support to fill that out, because that helps us as session leaders to learn and improve. And we will also collect some of the keywords that you provide on what you learned from this session to produce a word cloud that we're going to share on a rally community board. So later today, we will share the link on this rally community board where you can go in and add any additional highlights of this session that you want to share with others. Maybe you still have pending questions. So look for that. We have a timeline set up there on the community board, and feel free to use that as well. So we will give you a few, like 5 minutes to fill out the session evaluation. Please do that now before we disconnect. And several of us from the hosts will stay on if you want to say anything, say hello, chat. So maybe let's give 3 quiet minutes for people to fill out the session evaluation, and then we can close. Okay, so if you're still finishing your session evaluation, that's fine. I would like to ask any of our co-hosts if you want to mention any closing remarks, and if not, we will leave after we're all done. We will stay on a few extra minutes, and just, if you want to mention anything else from the participant side, we're here to listen.
I just want to say that it was really a pleasure to see all these faces from around the globe. Thanks for being here.
Just that it's nice to talk about good facilitation preparation, but when you actually see it done, I think it reinforces and inspires you to actually do it. This is a great example of a really good template, it really well thought out the time and what could get done, having breaks and sticking to them. So it's always inspiring to be part of a meeting run really well to make me want to do better. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Feel free to unmute. Just like we would be in a big plenary meeting, there would be all that buzz of people chatting, right?
I just say thank you to everyone for sharing their creative ideas. I think, we all kind of get into our tunnels of getting work done, and it's, for me, always really motivating to see that kind of hopefulness of like, okay, yeah, I just need to think about this a bit differently. So thank you. And the idea of working together, collaborating more to up our game is inspiring.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see different ways to do things. And when you make your own templates, most of my time spent looking at my stuff that I make. It's wonderful to get some cross-pollination here.
Thanks, Quinn. All right, well, I think we can adjourn the meeting. It's been very nice to see you all, and we hope this session was productive, and we will stay in touch with you.
All right,
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.